Hello, everyone. I'm Father Alexander Hart, Rector, St. John the Divine Episcopal Church in Sun City Center.
And I am the very Reverend David Marshall. I'm sorry. I have a hard time saying that without chuckling. Um, I sometimes refer to myself as mostly Reverend. And I am the rector of All Angels by the Sea, Longboat Key, where it feels like it's August. It is so humid out there. And I know everybody's like, you people in Florida complaining about the humidity. Anyway, it's great. It's a beautiful day.
Well,
You
if we
actually
didn't,
asked me what the weather was like.
because up here in Sun City Center it was kind of foggy and overcast and stuff like that. So it's hard to have 2 or 3 consecutive days of good weather.
Right.
But
And I'm so much further south than you. I mean, it's not a whole bunch further, but it is completely different down here. So it's like I'd go see my friend in Naples, and I'm just surprised at how different it is in Naples, weather-wise, than here. It's just strange to me because you just think it's Florida. It's all one temperature. That is incorrect. Speaking of temperature, how are you, my friend?
well, I'm good because this is a bridge between.
This is a bridge between. And what are we bridging today?
Well, we're bridging a few things. What I would like first to do is if you could bridge yourself a little more centered. I'm just really picky. There you go. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Is that
Yeah,
better?
I know. I'm that
You're
guy.
making me look at myself. I don't like,
No,
Yeah,
but today we're bridging a few different things because number one, it's Halloween this week,
it is.
which
Yep.
means it's also coming up on the Feast of All Souls and All Saints. And many churches are also starting their stewardship campaigns, and some of us are baptizing people. So we have all of these things taking place at the same time, but none of that matters, Dave. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because vampires.
Because of vampires. Yeah, I told Alex earlier that that vampires are real, and so he wanted to talk about that. And my explanation of why vampires are real. I often with the kids at St. John's in Chula Vista, I would ask them, "Do you like Halloween candy better or Easter candy?" And they know that the answer is Easter because that's what I'm shooting for. And they all say Halloween. But then, it makes me think, what is a bigger celebration in America today? All Saints Sunday or Halloween? Let me guess.
Let
Who
me guess on that
decorates the
one.
outside
Yeah.
of their house for All Saints? Anyway, it's there. So this is that special episode where we talk about Halloween. Vampires are real.
Okay. Just tell me how.
I have run into people who, if given the opportunity, they will suck the life out of me.
Okay, so we're going with that direction. Okay,
We're
so
going that direction.
we're not going Transylvania, Romania. We're not doing that
No,
thing.
no.
Okay.
And
Well,
there's no such thing as fiction because, I think that when somebody was writing about vampires, they're writing about people that they actually know. People that come out at night and they just suck the energy out of you. And then when you get your energy sucked out, you become one of the energy suckers, if you will. That you then have to go draw on somebody else's energy to try to replenish yours. And believe it or not, there is a Jewish connection to this.
well, before we do that, I just want to say I agree completely. There are some people who they don't even do it intentionally sometimes, but you will have a situation where they will just take all of the energy out of you, and it happens a couple different ways. One way that I've seen is that as clergy, we see people that require a lot of pastoral energy, um, and they're not meaning to take it out of you, but ministering to them in their time of need can be exhausting just simply because they need so much spiritual support and care, or they also need an advocate. If there's somebody who's in the hospital and they don't have a voice and you're trying to make sure they're being taken care of. um, the other
I'm not talking about them.
I know you're not.
That
I know
that
you're
is
not.
just normal
Right.
everyday.
Then
I'm talking about the people that walk up to you and suddenly you feel like your energy is draining.
yes, there are those who they seek attention for attention's sake, and they know that they're drawing the spiritual life force out of you, and that can be exhausting too.
And I'm not talking about them either.
Okay, so you
There are people out there who,
mhm.
when you start talking to them, you will feel on the inside you are starting to drain. Your battery is starting to run low. Okay. And this is out and beyond ministry. This just happens in life. Have you
Okay.
ever experienced that, or am I the only one?
No, I've experienced that. If you're talking about a non-ministry aspect, I
This
have
is
experienced that. Yeah.
right. This is completely, well, yeah. I don't know if it's completely non-ministry, but it's, yeah. You're at the bank standing in line, and there's somebody next to you that is just sucking your energy, and they are called vampires.
Now, is that negativity that they have, or is it something else?
Um, I'm not sure, and I don't think we have enough time in today's
Right.
bridge
Yeah.
between to really start unpacking that. The important thing, and the reason I first encountered this idea of vampires are real in a health and healing class in seminary that I took from Star King University. Star King is the leading university for the Unitarian Universalists. Just gonna let that sink in for a little bit. So yes, I took a health and healing class from the Unitarians, and if you're going to take a health and healing, take it from them, because Unitarians, of course, have a great sense of God's presence in many different traditions. And so we would be into Eastern medicine. We would talk about Greek philosophy, and of course Roman Catholicism and their view of healing. It's the whole thing. So the professor started off with vampires are real and didn't get into how it happens or why, but most importantly, how to disconnect yourself. And the number one thing is, unless you have a metaphorical stake or silver bullet, your best defense is to separate yourself.
So just for technical reasons, silver bullets are werewolves. I think you're referring to
Oh,
garlic.
okay, cool. See, I don't even know.
If
Right?
it's the
Is it
Halloween episode, we're going to be accurate. I'm just
Well,
saying.
I appreciate that, and yeah, and I appreciate you correcting that. Yeah. However, the way that we can do it is we have to distance ourselves. We have to turn the other cheek, if you will, which means walk away or run. That I used to think that I could kind of convert people that are vampires, and no, it's just they'll just suck your energy. Do you ready for the Judaism
Yeah.
connection?
Yes. Now put this into context in that you had a wonderful experience with the temple that's next door to you.
Yeah, well, a couple things. So there's a group that we're called the Interfaith Ministerium of Longboat Key and St. Armand's. I call us the Pastor Pals because it's so much of an easier phrase. It is the religious leaders of the various churches in the synagogue here on Longboat Key. And we have been meeting in my office over the summer about twice a month. And we have become a pastoral sharing and caring group. And it's a fantastic thing. So Rabbi Jessica is she's relatively new at Temple Beth Israel. And so when I first heard that she was coming, I reached out to her on Facebook and we became friends. And she actually, by the way, listens to our podcast. She's a big fan of yours, Alex. So yeah, so just another fun little shout out. So we're having there are several events during the year where Temple Beth Israel and All Angels do things together, and one of them is a pet blessing event, and that happened yesterday on Sunday the 26th, where, and I'm not exaggerating, it was 283 degrees outside, but other than that, it was okay. That was an exaggeration. So we had a wonderful time, and Rabbi Jessica came up with the idea that we do a pulpit swap. So on Friday, I was over at Temple Beth Israel, and I was given the opportunity to preach. And then on Sunday, she was here, and she also preached. And one of my favorite things is that we had people from All Angels that joined us on Friday at Temple, and then we had a whole bunch of people from Temple join us on Sunday at All Angels. And it's longboats, so there are connections. Like there are people that play tennis together, and that it was like homecoming. And it's hard for me to describe. And at a separate time, I'll be talking more and more about what all this means. But in Rabbi Jessica's sermon, she talked about the two C's of Judaism, and not the letter C, but SEA, the two
Oh, okay.
C's of Judaism. Okay. The first C is the Sea of Galilee, and the second C is the Dead Sea. And so she had us do this. So she had us make a fist and, put a thumbs up and then do the hang loose, right? But then you connect with the hang loose. You connect your pinky with your thumb of your fist. And so the hang loose, this is the Sea of Galilee, and this is the River Jordan. Okay. So the River Jordan, it starts at the top of your thumb, runs down through the Sea of Galilee, keeps going, and then ends in the Dead Sea. And the importance of that is that the sea itself, the Sea of Galilee, receives and gives. And it receives and gives an equal measure. And that the life of Judaism, the life with God, is to receive and to give. It's this constant flowing, and that's where the life is. The other sea, the Dead Sea, only receives, and no life comes out of it. Okay, so the two seas. So the question is, are you the Sea of Galilee,
Or
or are
you,
you the Dead Sea? Are you
yep.
the one that receives and nothing comes out, or are you receiving and giving? This isn't a new Jewish philosophy or thought or theology. I believe that Paul and others knew about this. So when Jesus says, "Blessed are you, but woe to you," it is a giving and a receiving. It is both a receiving and giving.
Well, I want to
The
go
Dead Sea,
deeper
the
than
Dead
that.
Sea are the vampires, right? So if I can do this again, they're the ones that only receive and no life comes out.
Well, I want to go deeper into that using the readings for the people who are preaching this Sunday or preaching with their life. And I want to start a little bit with Paul's letter to the Ephesians for this Sunday for All Saints, because he talks about inheritance.
Yes.
And the reason I like that he talks about inheritance is because when we have the idea of inheritance in our modern culture, a lot of it we think of as monetary. We
Hmm.
think of, okay, what am I getting from the probate court, or what am I getting in the will from my great aunt Myrtle? You know, no, I do not have a great aunt Myrtle. Um, but if there's one who wants to claim me and would give me an inheritance, that's fine.
There you
But we think of a monetary inheritance because we think only of what we're going to receive.
go. Hmm.
The type of inheritance that Paul is talking about is that because you have received, you can now give this. Because you have been blessed, now you can do this. And we talked about kind of the stewardship. That's what we're doing this Sunday in our parish. And the theme is because we have been blessed, or because we are blessed, we are now called to give this. And going into the text for the Beatitudes, you can tell the people who are in the woe, because every single time that Jesus talks about what the woe is, woe to you who are rich, it's kind of implying there that you're the rich who don't share.
You're
You
the
know,
Dead Sea.
you're the Dead Sea, or you're the full people now, the people who are full,
Hmm. Hmm.
while others are hungry.
Hmm.
So there is, I think, a deep consistency between what the rabbi preached and what we should be talking about in our churches.
Hmm. I completely agree. The Sea of Galilee, both the equal measure of giving and receiving. That if you imagine the sea being the same level and the River Jordan flowing in and flowing out, I say to you that listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. This is the giving and receiving. It comes in, and what do you do with it? You love, you bless, and you pray. That is the outgoing, and that has life to it.
There's one more thing, though, because we talked about the woes. There is a concern, I think, by the people who are saying, well, wait a minute, I'm poor, I'm hungry, I'm weeping. How am I going to be blessed? It's the assurance that even though you are experiencing these things, it does not preclude God blessing you and giving to you. And that is, I think, part of the promise of becoming a Christian, is that through Christ, we see that God is going to bless us even in the midst of all these various circumstances.
Right. So if you go back up to the blesseds, the blessed you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Um, yeah. Again, I see water flowing in to the Sea of Galilee and flowing out. Um, I get this sense of it. Well, this would be a nice place to end, but we have more to
We,
go.
we, we have some more. We have some more time. One of the things that another thing that I would point out when we talk about water
Hmm.
is we're doing two baptisms this Sunday on the Feast of All Saints, which is one of the most appropriate days to do a baptism. And what I love is we have two very different people being baptized. One is a little girl. She's not even 2 years old. She's maybe like 18 months, right? And then we have a 12-year-old young man. I'm not even going to call him a boy because he is tall. He's a young man. And I just love that we have two different examples of people being baptized, because we have the example of the young child who's being brought before the church to be brought up into the faith and to be, consecrated to God. And then we have the young man who has said, I choose to be
Hmm.
baptized. I want these things. I've heard about the inheritance and I want it. And I think even if you're not baptizing somebody this Sunday, I think it's important that baptism makes an appearance in the sermon, because you talk about that water that you can use as a great theme, but you can also talk about the idea of what is it that we have received that we pass on. Well, we've received the one faith, one Lord, one baptism, one God and Father of all, but we've also received this wonderful place through which we can enter. So one of the things I would suggest that people do, even if they're not baptizing somebody that day, is open the prayer book, right? Go to the section on baptism and read the thanksgiving over the water, because that's a powerful historical, scriptural holy moment that is being described in that liturgy of talking about how water has been present throughout the life of the history of God's people, and
Hmm.
how the Spirit of God has been present in that, and now how Christ is present, and how we are thankful to bring people to that space to receive their inheritance. So, like I said, even if you are not necessarily baptizing somebody, I use the Feast of All Saints as a good opportunity to renew our baptismal vows during the year.
Hmm. That's great. That's a good time to do it. Um, it reminds me of the very first words of the first sentence of Genesis, the beginning of the Bible. In the beginning, when God said, "Let there be light," there was water.
Mm-hmm.
That the Spirit was over the deep, and God said, "Let there be light." That water has always been a part of this world. Certainly is a part of Florida, um, and yeah, and Alex and I this morning were talking about Jamaica and and what's happening right there. Not only wind, but a tremendous amount of water too, and that there's a hurricane that is parked to their south. And
And we mean parked. I mean, it is 1 mile an hour is what it's moving, and so we're of course being mindful and keeping in prayer with our brothers and sisters in Jamaica and Cuba, because it is going to hit Cuba as well. So if I am a person who, Dave, is preaching with my life, let's say I'm not preaching a sermon this Sunday, and I'm preaching with my life, what can I do to not be a vampire?
that's good. Yeah, that's a very good question. So, Alex, you are my Sea of Galilee, right? So, you receive and you give, and that we have this friendship, this relationship where that is ongoing and life giving. Uh, like I don't know, every time we talk, I seem to have more energy at the end of it, but I don't think I'm taking energy from you.
No, it's the same thing for me. You're giving me energy when you and I talk, and I think I'm going to just speak from my perspective. I think the reason that I feel more energy from you is that you are not seeking to take, even when you need help or you need advice, or you've come to me and said, can we talk about something that's bothering me? Even when you do that, you are not seeking to draw something away from me. You're seeking to lean on me, you know. And but at the end, I feel like I have received something because you didn't have an agenda. Does that make sense?
It does, right, right. Also, while you were speaking, I started to hear the prayer attributed to Saint Francis,
Hmm.
And the second half of it, that it is in giving that we receive. That it's that we are designed to be the Sea of Galilee. Another favorite part of mine of Judaism is prayer that involves breath, and that the breath is a prayer. If you consider it this way,
Yes.
that every breath is a prayer, and that the first thing that God did with Adam was blow air. Was the breath is such an important thing in Judaism. And yet if we hold our breath, right, that doesn't work, and if we don't breathe, that doesn't work either. That we are supposed to be the Sea of Galilee, the giving and receiving. And there are people out there in the world, for whatever reason, that have the Dead Sea that they only receive. Um,
Well, I think that our modern society is about what can you do for me? What can
yeah,
I receive? Going back to the inheritance, what am I getting out of this? And if all we do when we come to church, to a relationship, to a conversation, to a friendship, anything, if all we're thinking is, what am I personally going to get out of this, then we're always going to be the Dead Sea. We are never going to be the Sea of Galilee.
hmm
Because by being the Sea of Galilee, we feel that we have lost something.
hmm
And I'm going to keep running with this analogy, is that when we give in the true sense, we can feel that we're losing something, and we're going to ask ourselves, well, wait a minute, what if I run out?
yeah, that
What
happens.
if I run out of the energy, or what if I run, and it's not replenished? That's where we need to be the Sea of Galilee. Now, talking about some of my favorite topics, which is clergy wellness and people wellness, there is such a thing as giving to the point where we are exhausted.
Yes.
That's where we need to then find places and ways in which we're receiving love and grace and being renewed. The problem is that we often don't pay attention enough to when that moment is coming. And so eventually what happens is we get to the breaking point, and then we need a lot more help than we are able to even give.
hmm Yeah. There's something about like rafting on the Sea of Galilee and then getting in the river heading towards the Dead Sea, right? That there's something about ministry, there's something about life, and no offense to our children, there's something about parenting where it can feel as if you are heading down, you've passed the Sea of Galilee and now you're heading down to the Dead Sea. And then we would think you have to start rowing really hard to get back up to the Sea of Galilee, and that's not the case. The One of the hardest things for people to do is, believe it or not, is to receive a compliment. I mean, to receive it,
Oh yeah.
to
I'm
really hear. Right. And it's part of our culture to say, yeah, thanks, what, but to not do that. That one way out of the Dead Sea is to take a compliment, to receive it, to hold it, and to let that to start to fill you, so that you become the Sea of Galilee again.
Well, I'm going to take it one step further, in that the most important thing we can do is to receive God's love just openly, and to allow that to permeate what we are. And have you ever been in the Dead Sea?
I have not.
So funny, couple things that they tell you when you're going to go into the Dead Sea. Number one, the day before, do not shave your face, do not shave anything, because it will hurt, because it's so
Really?
salty, right? The salt content is
Huh.
so high. It's like
Okay.
almost like an antiseptic. You can put the mud on you, which is good for your skin, but they tell you don't be more than 30 to 40 minutes in the Dead Sea. You've got to get out and go back to the beach, or go back to the other water if possible, because it will burn you. It will hurt you. And so the thing that's interesting, when I visited the Dead Sea, was, yeah, it's pretty cool. You can float, like everybody floats on the Dead Sea, but you can't stay there. You got to get out, or you will be hurt, like, significantly. And I just think that's such a great message, is that we're being told to live in this dead place by the world, that it's okay to live here. But the
Mhm.
longer we live there, the greater at risk we come for losing our life and our health.
Hmm. That is fascinating. And it eats away at the skin,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
But
like,
that's
my skin was smooth when I got out of the Dead Sea. I'm like, ooh, this is nice. And of course, they sell the mud and they sell all the stuff that you can get from the Dead Sea. It's all a nice thing. But they said, it's time to get out, guys. You do not belong in there for that long. And there was
that's
one
interesting.
guy, poor guy, he shaved the day before. He totally forgot. And he was like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
he was in pain. I'm not laughing at his pain. I'm laughing at his, that he was laughing,
Yes, of
Uh,
course.
yeah.
And I was thinking of Kevin from Home Alone when he puts
Yeah. When he
aftershave.
puts the aftershave on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
David, we kind of,
well, before we switch, in comparison to that, there is a warm springs that is near Northport, I believe. Christy and I have been there several times, and it is a spring that has so many minerals in it that you just float, right? That you don't actually need. We always bring a noodle and stuff, but but you hang out there, and there is something about being in that mineral water that is very, very rejuvenating. But it's a constant flowing spring, so it comes up out of the ground and then flows down. Eventually, gets into Sarasota Bay, and so the you can stay there all day. Whereas in the Dead Sea, you're also floating, and it's also good for your skin, but you can't stay there for very long. It reminds me of baptism and the water that is flowing, and whether it's the Jewish rite of conversion or if it's our baptism, the water needs to be moving. And so, at your church, do you pour? How does your font work?
so we have the bird bath model, the small one, like about that big, about as big as a big popcorn bowl, you might say. And I really thought for a moment, I pondered it, that because I was baptizing a young man, I thought, what if I got like one of those big pools, like the trough or something like that? But then I thought, the altar guild would just kill me because the thing is so big and there's no room for it in the area where we have the altar. So, maybe if we build another sanctuary, we will build a nice flowing font like they have at St. Mark's Episcopal Church in Tampa. Go look up that one. That's a beautiful font. And
Or I just look at the one that's right next to my office at All Angels.
Well, or just you can do that too. I'm saying
Right.
if you're
I
close
mean,
to
I
that.
remember when you saw it, you were impressed. You're like, "That's really nice." And I said, "That's our baptismal font." And you went, "Yes, yes." It is a flowing font outdoors for everybody. It's open 24 hours a day,
Well, David,
except when the island closes. But
except for that.
other than that, and if you can find parking, but other than that, it's it is open 24 hours a day. So, Alex, I guess the bottom line of this: happy Halloween, happy All Saints Sunday, and thank you for being my Sea of Galilee.
And thank you for being mine. And I think the big thing I would point out to people as we get ready for these wonderful, holy days of All Souls and All Saints, and things of that nature, we have a choice about receiving this inheritance and what we're going to do with it. And because we have that choice, we get to determine so much about this world and about if it's going to be a world full of flowing water or if it's going to be a pool of dead, salty water. And we
Mm-hmm.
have that choice to do that. And I'm glad that I see people choosing to be the Sea of Galilee instead of the Dead Sea.
You bet. That's very good. Well, I hope for those that are preaching, you have found something that will work. And certainly for those of you that are preaching with your life, I hope that you'll take the time to ponder the two seas of Judaism, the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea.
And we hope that you are enjoying our course that we have been doing with Bible study, humility, God's key to happiness. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to those videos and to this one. We'll catch you in the next one.
God bless.